One's ready. Go!
I care. I could care. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is episode 2 on this journey we're taking through your questions, our answers as you join the Air Force. So we explained it last time. Jared put out a story based on some of the questions that we'd received about expectations versus reality, the things that folks are experiencing pre-accession and also when they're early in the Air Force Special Warfare Pipeline experience. Before we get to that, though, before you join, is there anywhere you can go to buy the type of equipment that you're actually going to interact with once you're in the pipeline, Jared?
There's actually 2 places you can go. You can go to attackely.com and use the promo code ONESREADY, but we'd actually prefer you to go to onesready.com, and then the promo code and all that kind of stuff is already built in, so you don't need to add anything, and you can get Attack Elite gear while you're there. You can get your rocket fins, your high volume masks, you can get normal goggles, smartwatches that have GPS, you can get Alice rucks, you can get ropes for knot tying underwater. They got a whole bunch of stuff. Wet bags for all your gear after you leave the pool. And that's all on our site. And then while you're there, you can pick up a shirt or pick up flags.
Making grids disappear. It's one of my favorite shirts in the Magic Mike series. Magic Mike is in the Magic microphone, the combat controllers, the JTACs. Yeah. But lots of good stuff over there. But if you want to feel comfortable with the stuff that you're going to be training in once you get into the pipeline, if you're one of those folks, head over to onesready.com, pick it up on our site. Or if you go to attackly.com, that's fine. But use the code ONESREADY more for just letting them know that you heard it from us. Just go to onesready.com. It's so much easier. I don't know why we play these games, but they have fantastic stuff. They're great people, friends of the podcast. They're awesome. But
playing
moving
these games with me.
Stop playing games. I don't want to play games. So when we're talking about this one, the mental versus physical challenges, and the theme that we have here is the interplay between mental resilience and physical preparation. What does that mean, Jared?
Between mental resilience and preparation?
Yeah.
Man, that's a tough definition, but I'll tell you what I would say. Like, because I'm a scenario driven person, I see mental resilience paired with physical prep by my program or my mental state says I'm going out for a 6-mile run today. Like, that's it. No questions asked, right? Mile 3 happens and I'm smoked because I didn't get much sleep last night. I haven't hydrated well. Man, it's really hot out here in Vegas during the summertime. Like, I'm good with just going 3, right? That's good. I'm good, right? No, I'm not good. I've got to finish. And sometimes you'll go out there and it's taking longer and you're like, dude, I got to cut this one short. Well, when you have time, finish that last mile or 2, whatever you do. But there's something to be said for finishing what you set out to do. And it'll help you, like I said, I'm not training for anything other than life and not to be a fat piece of crap, right? But still, if I say to myself, I'm going to go out for a 4-mile run, I'm going to go out for a 4-mile run. And it sounds silly because as you're, dude, what's another mile? Who cares? You just turn around. The house is right there. I'll just go back. And it's a victory. It's a small victory, but it's a victory. And you throw enough of those together, it becomes a big victory, and then it becomes discipline rather than making a choice. And then there's no choice in the matter. It's just discipline, and it just happens. No questions asked. That's, for me, is what I would say mental resilience is.
Well, you got to keep those promises you make with yourself, right? And I'm not a huge fan of talking about like New Year's resolutions or any of that other stuff, but like you got to make promises to yourself. And if you break those promises, it becomes a habit. That's bad, and that doesn't build discipline. But every time you get those reps in where you don't want to do something, you don't want to do it, and you force yourself to do it over and over and over again, that builds, like, I don't know, these mental connections that we have. It builds these habits that we have to be able to just see something that needs to be done and then to do it. It doesn't, we stop kind of playing the game where we go like 6 steps to get to where we're going, as we have to work through all of our excuses and defeat every single one of them. And once you join the pipeline, you're going to need that confidence that you can just do whatever is put in front of you, and you need those reps before you get there. So like, they talk about in the pipeline, right? We all say it like, hey, it's a 80-90% mental, whatever that means. But if you don't have the physical preparation, the way you get to that mental fortitude is through making yourself do these difficult physical tasks that you do not want to do, and forcing yourself to keep those promises that you made with yourself, the night or the morning of, to do exactly what you said you were going to do, if not more.
Yep. It helps with, so kind of going in line with what some of the input that was provided to us on those stories from folks that have been in the pipeline and exited because they failed, quit, or passed, or people that are in the pipeline now. But some of them felt like they underestimated the physical demands that were put on their body. Part of that is from episode 1. They thought the IFT was going to be good enough. That's like saying the CrossFit Games athletes, all they do is main sight WOD, and that's the only thing they do for the day.
You think they do
Like,
more?
yeah, I think they probably do more.
Maybe.
So in to that, one of the quotes, and this is based off of the IFT minimums set a false sense of security and a false sense of readiness for them, was, quote, "I thought I was prepared after passing the IFT, but the water con destroyed me. You need to be far beyond the minimums," end quote. And I would actually argue, like, in terms of the IFT, there is no water con on there, right?
No,
I
but there's
I
a
don't think so. Like,
there's
I
a
don't
500-meter swim in
yeah.
the underwaters, right? And we don't consider a 25-meter underwater much of anything.
Right.
It's like, hey, can you bench 135? It's like, well, of course I can bench 135. Like, I don't even bench, I can bench one. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the level that we look at it. But if you are far exceeding the minimums and you have correct form and all these other things in the water during the IFT, assuming that means that you've spent, 3,000 hours in the pool leading up to that. You've really worked on the minutia. You spent a lot of time with your face in the water. You've done hundreds, if not thousands, of underwaters. Like, if you're just going there and your form is crap, but you pass the IFT, that's not what we're looking for. You should swim that 500 meters and have, I don't know, 2,000 more meters left in the tank. You know what I mean? That's my whole train lazy thing. If I'm training for 500 meters, I'm working up to where I can swim slick, like, 2,000-3,000 meters. So that when I get in there to do the 500, it's like, psh, like, once I'm warmed up, like, this is nothing. You know what I mean? Like, I want this to be easy.
Right. You're wanting to be so prepared and so physically fit, and that whenever you hear that you've got to knock out an IFT, or you've got to knock out a CFT or an OFT, or we got a 4-hour pool session coming up, that you're not just like, oh my God, because in your mind that you can physically get through this. I can knock out 7 underwaters, 8 underwaters at a minute 30 pace. No big deal. I can do tank tread. I can do knots underwater. I can do ditch and don. Like, whatever. Okay, cool. We're going to do 10 ups. All right, cool. Yeah, it's not going to be fun, but I'm not freaking myself out about it before I go there. That's where we talk about, like, the pipeline being 80-90% mental and the rest being physical. If that 10 to 20% is physical, and I'm so physically fit and so ready and so efficient that I don't have to sweat it, that's more bandwidth to be able to worry about the other stuff. Not worry about the other stuff, but focus on the other stuff.
Yeah. Well, and especially in the water, right? The stress response that we all are born with. You get your face in the water, you go subsurface, automatically your heart rate wants to do weird things. Like, we're not supposed to, we associate water with danger. You can pass an IFT and still have that stress response. The IFT, the standards are so low that you really don't have to put in that much time to make it. But are you showing up the pool and your heart rate still jumping high? You know what I mean? Like, you need to walk in the pool and feel like this is my home. And until, like, the water is your home, then you're not going to be very good at all the other stuff that we add on top of those underwaters. Like, I'm not saying you need to do tank treads and buddy breathing and all that stuff before you join, but like you need to walk in there being like, this is a place where I train. Just like the road, like if you put thousands of miles in running, you don't have a stress response before you go running. You wake up and you stare at your shoes, and you're like, I don't want to do this before you go do it. But once you get going, like it's not a big deal. That's how you need to feel in the pool before you go. And there's not that many students that you show up at the pool on day one. Like there's so many of them that show up and you can just tell that their heart rate jumped to 170, 180, just walking onto the pool deck. Like you need to feel so comfortable there that you have the bandwidth to absorb additional training. And I think that's where a lot of these folks run into problems is it's not about the IFT. Like we're telling you to get like way more comfortable in that environment. Until you're comfortable there, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah. But that does not mean that you get to neglect your physicality and your fitness. So going on to how crucial mental strength is, right? Like we've talked about and we've been talking about, but it doesn't mean that you can just, not coast, because nobody coasts their way through, but it doesn't mean that you can just go, well, screw it, dude. If I'm just going to be hard as nails but I'm not going to focus on my physicality. There are still events that you can fail. So one of the quotes was, quote, I believed my mental toughness would carry me through, but I couldn't keep up with the team physically.
Bro.
End quote. Oh my God, dude.
I mean, you're going to need the mental toughness, but like, man, and we talk about this too. Like I'm not good at everything. Right. So like maybe I'm towards the end of the team, like the bottom third of the team when we have pull-up iterations, right? I always struggled with pull-ups. Like I grew up playing soccer. I don't know what it is. I'm not great at pull-ups. But like this sounds like a guy who like if you're bottom third in everything and you can't keep up with the team, like what are you good at? And you're just like, oh, I'm just a super tough guy and I'm gonna make it. It's like, bro, if you have no efficiency in any of the things that we do and you're just expecting because you're a tough guy to make it, it's not going to work out for you. Like, and I don't understand it. Like, I think that I'm a fairly physically resilient person, like I don't mind a little bit of pain, but I'm also way too lazy to struggle through everything all day.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be mentally tough all day, every day. It's exhausting.
Yeah. There was a guy that I went to NDOC with that we called, like everybody called him Tuffy, right? He was just this unbelievably hard friggin' physical specimen, right? In most regards. I mean,
Right.
he lasted a long time during NDOC, getting smoked, dude. He was the guy that would always tell the cadre, "Can't smoke me," and then they would take him off by himself. After like they would smoke all of us, right? And then he'd still like, "Can't smoke me," and they'd
Tuffy.
take him out back and just have hours of fun with him. And they never broke him mentally, but physically, they eventually he ended up failing some evals, and I can't remember what it was. It wasn't any calisthenics. I think it was runs. Like he was always just fast enough, so that wasn't his strength, and so he couldn't keep up physically. Is what it is. So yeah, if you're in the dude, he was fun to be around, but like, bro,
But also learn how to keep your mouth shut.
yeah,
You think you're going to walk in and challenge the cadre like, oh, I'm stronger than the cadre. It doesn't matter. You have no power here, new guy. Like I love the mentality. You can't smoke me, but saying that out loud, like the balls on this dude. Like
yeah.
I get it. Like it's cool, but also you're like challenging them and being like, this course is nothing. They're like, well,
Okay,
we can fix that for you, there, buddy. It's Tuffy. We'll fix it for you.
yeah. um yeah, so anyway, the next one that was talking about staying healthy and eating enough and recovery are constant challenges. So the quote was, the biggest reality check was being tired, wet, and hungry every day, but still having to perform. Dude, 100%. Like I don't want to chuck a spear at this dude, because we have said that tons of time, and I'm glad that he recognizes that like that is a real reality check. And that's one of the things that we've talked about it, right? It's one of the things that like buds and the seals, they use we've got the Pacific, we've got the sand. Yeah, that is a legitimate thing. The Pacific is cold, sand is not fun, But what you don't deal with, like you deal with in Texas, is the crazy temperature differences, how it can be cold and then the very next day it's hot. It can be wicked hot in the summer. It can be really freaking cold in the winter. Um, yeah, guess what? You can make sand and mud pits anywhere. You don't need the beach to do it. And it will suck the motivation and the energy out of you just being cold, wet, and tired and hungry every single day.
Yep. I mean, that's one of the things I talk about on the run, right? Like if you don't have that aerobic baseline, that helps your efficiency, that helps you work out every single day, right? Like if you can't, like just if you don't have an aerobic gas tank, you're gonna start struggling real quick. But the other thing is like you have to get over this. Eating is a fun thing, or I don't feel like eating. I don't feel like doing my recovery. I don't feel, like it doesn't matter. When you wake up and you're like, I don't like to eat breakfast, it doesn't matter. And we dealt with this in the pipeline all the time, especially at prep, where it's like no one cares about your six pack, no one cares about your body fat percentage. If you can't perform, then you're out of here. And that's the reality. Like you need to eat everything you can get your hands on, especially if you're a smaller guy. Like if you're a bigger guy, you can probably get away with it for a little bit longer because you're like kind of looking forward to having a six pack for the first time in your life when you graduate the pipeline. And we've all met those guys, and it's great when they make it and all that other stuff. But like if you're not fueling, you're gonna fail. And it doesn't matter if you don't feel like doing it. Like your comfort, your desires are nothing. You're there to train, and you have to do the things that you have to do to perform every single day. It doesn't matter if you feel like it or not. It doesn't matter if you're like, well, I get nauseous when I drink water in the morning, and I if I eat breakfast, I don't like it. Okay, doesn't matter. Do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've told the story several times, and I'll say it one more time since we're on the subject. I was at dive school in Key West because that's the real dive school.
I have
Anyway,
no opinion on that. So
yeah, no. Anyway, so yeah, I was at Key West going through dive school, summertime, and I was always the very last team. And if you're not tracking, the teams are numbered. Team 1 is the fastest, so lower number is the faster teams, and if you're last, like it just goes on slower. And I was always on the last team. The only reason I moved up in teams is because other people quit or failed, and then I just gained a team, which was terrible, by the way, because that means I had to fin faster and faster. Which there was an obvious reason I was on the very last team. And anyway, so we're doing evaluations, and I'm getting really close to not making time. And one of the instructors come over and is like, "Dude, um, what are you eating?" And the chow hall at Key West was phenomenal. It was all you can eat and all that kind of stuff, but there's only so much I could physically eat at the time. And he's like, "You're not eating enough." Like, dude, I'm full every time I leave. Like, I'm not skipping meals. He's like, you need to take cookies, take chips, take food back to the room with you, and set alarm, wake up in the middle of the night, throw down as much food as you can, go back to sleep. And it was incredible. I noticed a difference the next day doing that. Missing of that 10 minutes of sleep to wake up, throw food down, and then go back to sleep was a game changer. And it was an enormous improvement the very next day. So you have to be eating.
Yeah, and your body's not recovering if you're not getting enough calories, And I know, like we said something on a reel a while ago where we're like, you need to eat everything, and they're like, this is the worst advice ever. It's like like that furnace is so hot. Like I get it. Like for all of us working in an office or whatever, you and I retired, right? Like I'm not going to eat everything, otherwise I'd be 800 pounds. But man, when you're especially early on in the pipeline, your metabolism is through the roof, and so if you're struggling, eat more.
Yeah. I still have to transit. I haven't stopped my eating habits from NDOC, and that's my damn problem right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, that about covers the input for this kind of theme. So to put a bow on it, you're going to be hungry, tired, wet. It's going to suck. It's going to drain the discipline, the motivation, and the will to be there out of you. It's a reality check for sure, and that's what this person said. And you need to be ready. So we've talked about a couple different ways that you can be ready. I still stand by 80% mental, 20% physical. But you cannot neglect that 20%. You can be as hard as you want, and you can be as stupid as you want, but you have got to all right, if you're not hard, if you're not smart, you better be hard. That's
Yeah.
where that comes from. Because, even in our pipeline, we still have people that get to the team, and generally they're fairly intelligent people, but you still get people that'll make it through the pipeline and they show up and you're like, dude, you really are dumb. Like, you're just dumb. You're hard, like, but you're dumb.
I see things and I lift them up, Sergeant. It's like, okay. Yeah, awesome.
And there's places for those people.
And I think one of the important things too, where you see folks, if you haven't experienced failure in life, I don't think you're training hard enough if you haven't experienced failure, because you need to experience some failure. But failure is part of the pipeline. You will absolutely fail at something. You will make a mistake. Your team will pay for something you do as you go through it. And if that is not something that you understand, like that it's part of the process, you see it get to people. And then just like everything else, it'll snowball. One bad day and you'll see their performance drop off because mentally they've decided that failure is not an option. The pipeline is rife with failure. You're going to fail and you have to bounce back over and over and over again. We do not wash you out because of one failure, one mistake. Like, we look forward to that. That's what the pipeline is for you to get past those failures and to get better. So when you fail, you need to understand what it is. And if you can't bounce back from that, you're not going to make it. And that's what you build through the hard physical training leading up to the pipeline. Is you need to fail. Like, you need to set some goals. You're not going to make it. You need to set hard enough goals and do hard enough things where you're not going to make it, or just get real comfortable with the fact that, like, you're going to have bad days and it doesn't matter because that was yesterday and today is today, and today is all that matters.
That's right. So with that, head over to ONESREADY.com, grab yourself some of our merch or some Attack Elite stuff. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, leave us a review over on Apple Podcast or Spotify. And again, this is episode 2 of 5. On to the next, number 3. You can expect things like failure and growth and kind of accountability, that kind of stuff. We'll see you over there. Later.